For money, a man actually set his sights on his own biological daughter. First, he intentionally bought snacks containing peanuts and fed them to her, causing the child to almost die from an allergic reaction. Later, he took her alone to the seaside, planning to push her into the ocean. Everything began more than 10 years ago from a single coincidence. After one robbery, Old Kang unexpectedly discovered that the prosecutor handling his case had the exact same name as him. Using this connection, along with his emotional acting, Old Kang eventually convinced the prosecutor to not press charges. From that moment on, Old Kang began forming a plan to make a large sum of money. That night, Old Kang stalked the prosecutor, injured him, and secretly took the business card that proved the prosecutor's identity. The next day, he deliberately took his daughter Sun-hee to the hospital, pretending to, coincidentally, run into the prosecutor's family. Seeing someone with the same name again, the prosecutor was pleasantly surprised and asked his son to help take care of Sun-hee. In the middle of their conversation, Old Kang excused himself, but in reality he went to the supermarket to buy snacks containing peanuts and handed them to his daughter. Old Kang knew perfectly well that his daughter, just like him, was severely allergic to peanuts. Unaware of this, the prosecutor's son helped open the snack for Sun-hee. Everything unfolded exactly as Old Kang expected. The girl fainted after eating it. After emergency treatment, she fortunately survived. In front of the prosecutor, Old Kang once again spoke about his poverty, hinting that he couldn't afford the expensive medical bills. The kind-hearted prosecutor, upon hearing that Old Kang sold insurance, immediately bought a policy from him, even recommending Old Kang's insurance to his junior colleagues at the office, hoping the commissions would help Old Kang through his difficulties. Facing such kindness, Old Kang pretended to be deeply moved and then visited the prosecutor's wife's psychology clinic. She was an excellent psychologist. After the session, Old Kang deliberately used a very intimate tone when addressing her and even gifted her beautiful flowers. The warm-hearted wife invited him to their home for dinner. Back then, almost everyone advised the couple to stay away from this ex-convict, Old Kang. However, his carefully constructed image misled the couple into believing he had already turned over a new leaf and was a pitiable man trying to restart his life for his family. Little did they know, outside their sight, Old Kang was using the prosecutor's business card to scam people. That evening, Old Kang brought his daughter to the prosecutor's home for dinner. In front of the family, he continued his act, full of guilt about failing to take proper care of his daughter. Seeing such a sincere father, the prosecutor told Sun-hee to treat their home like their own and visit often. He even bought life insurance for his entire family from Old Kang. But soon the truth surfaced. Old Kang's fake prosecutor identity was discovered by his creditors. They threatened him to repay his debt or lose his life. Desperate to survive, Old Kang hardened his heart. He took his daughter away from the grandmother who had been caring for her. When the mother learned her son had also purchased life insurance for the girl, she feared Old Kang had sinister intentions and begged him to stop. Old Kang refused to listen and forcibly took his daughter away. He brought her to the seaside. To receive insurance compensation, Old Kang planned to fake an accident. Little Sun-hee gazed innocently at the ocean, not knowing her father was slowly approaching her from behind. But the child was too sweet and sensible. Even a beast would not eat its own young. Old Kang couldn't bring himself to do it and decided to stop. At that moment, his creditor called. Old Kang realized the creditor was monitoring him nearby and already knew his plan to obtain the insurance money. The creditor didn't care how Old Kang got the money. He simply reminded him that if he wanted to stage an accident at the beach, he would need a witness to satisfy the insurance company's investigation. Coincidentally, the prosecutor's family was also at the beach. Seeing his chance, Old Kang began plotting again. He knew there was no better witness than a current prosecutor. While the prosecutor's family was fishing on the rocks, Old Kang quietly carried his daughter aside and prepared to go through with the plan. But just as he was about to act, the prosecutor's son called out to Sun-hee. The girl turned back. Faced with her innocence again, Old Kang couldn't do it. Now he was trapped. On one hand, he had a debt to pay. On the other, he couldn't kill his daughter for insurance money. The desperate man didn't know what to do. Seeing Old Kang troubled, the prosecutor asked him to share whatever burdens he carried, even asking about his childhood dreams. Old Kang hesitated, admitting he never had any dreams. If he had one, it was simply to survive.
The prosecutor seemed to relate. Life was not easy, he said. Since having a son, His child's future had become his purpose for living. So he urged Old Kang to live well, for his daughter's sake. Watching the prosecutor's family happily playing at the beach, Old Kang felt a warmth he hadn't felt in years. Unable to kill his daughter and unable to pay his debts, he was threatened again by the creditor. To stay alive, he promised he would get the money soon. Still obsessed with the insurance payout, Old Kang transferred all the premiums from the policies he sold into his own account. When the prosecutor's juniors exposed this, the prosecutor apologized to them for being fooled and asked them to give Old Kang one more chance. That day, Old Kang invited the prosecutor to meet him, saying he now had a stable job and asking the prosecutor to visit him at work. For once, Old Kang wasn't lying. Because of what the prosecutor had said, he took a job at a paint shop, hoping to repay his debts and live steadily. Before the prosecutor arrived, Old Kang was getting electrical repairs done in his office. The repairman warned that the wiring was outdated and needed full replacement, and that storing so many flammable paint products made the place dangerous. Old Kang dismissed him, thinking the man was trying to scam him, and angrily chased him out. Later that day, the prosecutor arrived. Old Kang welcomed him warmly, talking about his new paint business and hinting he lacked funds, hoping for help. But the prosecutor became serious, confronting him about siphoning off the insurance premiums. Caught, Old Kang apologized repeatedly. By now, the prosecutor was deeply disappointed. He once believed that with enough help, Old Kang could truly change, that his nature wasn't bad. But now, whatever trust he left was fading away. Before leaving, the prosecutor demanded Old Kang return the money immediately, otherwise he would have no choice but to prosecute him for fraud. That night, the discouraged prosecutor went home and told his wife he had misjudged Old Kang. He wanted to continue believing in him, but his heart could no longer accept it. Meanwhile, Old Kang was once again captured and threatened by his creditor. With his life on the line, he promised he had a way to get the money. He was given 3 days. If he failed, he would die. At the same time, the prosecutor was no longer helping him, leaving Old Kang's final hope completely crushed. Looking at his sleeping daughter, a tear of final resolution slipped from his eye. The next day, Old Kang drove with Sun Hee to the school of the prosecutor's son. Old Kang took the 2 children from Ahao's school. He lied that he needed help and asked Ahao to come along. Kind-hearted Ahao immediately agreed. Old Kang then brought both children to his newly opened paint shop. While they were playing, he secretly drugged their drinks. The boys suspected nothing. After all, this uncle was someone close to his parents. Soon, both Ahao and Sun Hee unknowingly drank the drugged beverages and fell unconscious. When she couldn't reach her son, the adoptive mother panicked and called her husband. The prosecutor husband, however, was careless and assumed the boy was just at a friend's house. But just then, a criminal under arrest revealed Old Kang's secret. He had been impersonating the prosecutor outside. Hearing this, the adopted father no longer cared about friendship or pity. He immediately called the police and had Old Kang arrested on the spot for impersonating a public official. After the arrest, the adopted father led a search of the paint shop, but the shop appeared almost empty. He returned to the prosecutor's office, unaware that his beloved son was lying unconscious inside that same shop. Seeing the man failed to notice the hidden children, Old Kang laughed wildly. Even after his arrest, the adopted father asked, out of lingering kindness, why Old Kang had impersonated him. Old Kang dropped the act, laughed, and directly admitted to kidnapping Ahao. The adopted father exploded, punching him repeatedly, demanding to know his son's location. But Old Kang remained cold and refused to speak. The police later found that the last location ping from Old Kang's phone was the paint shop. The adopted father also remembered that when he first visited the shop a few days ago, there was no cabinet blocking the entrance to the storage room. Realizing this, he understood immediately. The hidden storage room must be where the children were held. He rushed there at once. Inside the paint shop storage room, Ahau awoke first. Seeing Sun Hee still unconscious, the boy fumbled for the light switch, but turning it on caused a short circuit, igniting nearby materials. Noticing thick smoke outside the door, Ahau pushed with all his strength to topple the cabinet blocking the exit, but heavy smoke and raging flames made it impossible to escape through the main door. In desperation, Ahau shattered the small window above the storage room. He lifted the now awake Sun Hee in his arms and helped her climb out to safety. After ensuring she escaped, he fought through the choking smoke and forced open a louvered window, shouting for help. But the paint products stored everywhere were extremely flammable. A massive explosion erupted instantly. Ahau was swallowed by the flames and died.
By the time the adoptive parents arrived, it was already too late. The paint shop was engulfed in fire, lighting up the sky. A firefighter carried out a survivor. The couple stared with desperate hope, but when they got closer, they realized the survivor was not their son, but Sun Hee. The adoptive mother collapsed onto the ground in despair, screaming. The adoptive father's eyes lost their last trace of light. As time passed, the fire was extinguished, but public speculation about the case continued endlessly. Old Kang was sentenced to prison, yet some people questioned whether the adoptive father had used his position as a prosecutor to take revenge. Old Kang, still unrepentant, insisted he had never kidnapped anyone. Adding fuel to the rumors, the adoptive parents had taken out a large life insurance policy for their son not long before his death. People began to suspect they had intentionally set the fire for money. But more than malicious gossip, what the couple cared about most was Sun Hee, the daughter of the man who killed their child. With Old Kang imprisoned, Sun Hee was sent to an orphanage. The adoptive mother visited her repeatedly. Whenever she saw the girl, she was reminded of Ahau's kindness before he died. One day, at the orphanage, she met young Soo-yeon, a smart little girl who understood adults better than most. Seeing that Sun Hee was always alone, the adoptive mother asked Soo-yeon to become her friend. Because of this request, Soo-yeon and Sun Hee became the closest of childhood companions. Soon after, the adoptive parents decided to adopt Sun Hee. To them, she was not the villain's daughter, but the girl Ahau used his life to save. That day, the adoptive mother walked towards Sun Hee with gentle eyes, arms open, vowing to heal the pain of losing her son by building a family with Sun Hee. Unfortunately, that fragile happiness was once again shattered by the return of Old Kang, the devil. After the kidnapping crisis ended, the adoptive mother and Sun Hee hugged each other tightly, crying. To the mother, Sun Hee was still her most precious family. At the kidnapping site, the police also found Soo-yeon unconscious but alive. Even better, thanks to a life buoy thrown by officers, the adoptive father survived the fall into the sea. Later on, Sun Hee gathered the courage to visit her friend, Hyunwoo, Cheonwoo. A few days earlier, Hyunwoo had been stabbed by Soo-yeon, but mostly recovered. Seeing Sun Hee safe, he happily took her grocery shopping. Sun Hee planned to cook a meal for her adoptive parents, so they bought a lot of ingredients. On the way back, Hyunwoo shared his dreams, the places he wanted to visit, and his biggest wish of becoming an architect. He told Sun Hee he wanted to build her a beautiful house one day, and if they could live together, that would be even better. Sun-hee understood his feelings, but she neither accepted nor rejected him. She only thanked him. Everything Hyun-woo had done for her recently, even risking his life, she remembered deeply. Her voice trembled with sadness. Before he could ask, Sun-hee quickly waved goodbye and returned to the burned-down home. Inside the ruined house, she cleaned carefully. Looking at the scorched family portrait on the wall, her eyes filled with sorrow. After hours of work, the house finally resembled the home it once was. Sun-hee cooked a meal in the kitchen, set the dining table, and called her adoptive parents to come home. When they returned, they found a cake on the table, with the words, "Happy birthday, Ahao." Sun-hee told them she remembered everything, Ahao saving her life, and that today was his birthday. She apologized, believing that if not for her, her son might still be alive. The adoptive father explained that he hid the truth only to protect her. The adoptive mother, gentle as always, took Sun-hee's hand. She believed that after weathering this storm, their family bond would return to what it once was. Sun-hee nodded and served them seaweed soup. They praised it, saying it tasted wonderful. But her expression grew sorrowful. Softly, she apologized again. Thinking of Sun-hee's farewell-like tone, Hyun-woo became anxious and called the police. His fear was right. The adoptive parents collapsed at the table after drinking the soup. At that moment, old Kang emerged from the shadows. It turned out that Sun-hee had drugged the soup, using the drug her biological father had given her. End of this episode. That's all for today. Please like, comment, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel. The finale drops tomorrow. Until then, take care.